Hello ladies and gentlemen, back in Florida, and it is not as welcoming as I would have hoped for. It's currently drizzling lightly and we have some cloud cover, but I'm still excited. So I've hiked out out to this location, spent about a couple hours searching, and I found a nice little area here which looks like a good place to set up camp.
Hammocks are definitely the way to go in these kind of environments. They're lightweight, they pack up real small in your case, and very comfortable to sleep in my opinion. Very inexpensive too, and definitely want to keep off the ground in this environment. I like to string my hammock nice and tight because I don't find that it's very comfortable when it's in that banana shape. The tarp can be flared out at less of a pitch so that you have more coverage. However, if you string the tarp down in a real tight A-frame close to the hammock, that will actually keep you warmer, as it'll stop the breeze from coming up underneath your hammock. This is the real limit when it comes to hammock camping, is that if you do not insulate the bottom of your hammock, then the cold draft coming up will chill you to the bone. I've had this happen and it is not fun.
I'm going to try and chuck some bait in the water and see if I can catch some fish. But first, I need to find some bait. So that's going to be the first project. Okay, I think I've actually found a really good spot here. It's pretty tough. The soil here is very sandy. And so things like earthworms don't typically like that soil. I have to find something that has a little more humus in it and a little more topsoil that they enjoy. However, I have learned from experience that in these type of conditions, the wood boring worms tend to like these dry logs right here. See how it's rotten, and you can see the little telltale hole right there. There's actually a couple smaller ones around, but this is obviously a dead tree that's still standing, therefore it's pretty dry. And that makes a perfect home for these worms. A machete is such a great tool when you're out in a jungle type environment. Now this is not, true rainforest, but where you have a lot of vines and thick bush. To clear out the bush, a good machete always comes in handy. This one here I bought in Panama, I don't know, like 6 years ago, and it's real cheap. It probably cost $5, but now I've got a little bit of an attachment to it. It's got a nice flexible thin blade. I don't like to be swinging really heavy, thick machetes. In my opinion, that defeats the point of a machete. This is a little on the shorter side, but it's super comfortable, really lightweight, so it's really easy just to chuck in the backpack, and you can get by with this as your only knife. You can do some fine carving if you need to, and then of course you have the chopping aspect for larger pieces. Yes, I found one. Look at that guy chilling in there, and that is prime fish food. You can see the termite inside there. Termites are good to eat for us and for fish. And this guy here knows I'm here, so I better get him out before he disappears. Bigger than the ones that we get back in Oregon, which is great, but that is something that I can eat if I was desperate, but I'd rather use it as bait and catch fish and eat fish. And there the hook sticks out a little bit. He's still alive and moving, so we'll chuck him in the water, and if nothing bites this, then there are no fish in this little creek.
I'm just going to throw the hook in the water, tie the string off to something on the land, and then go about my business while the fish hopefully gets caught without me having to work for it.
See how the water has a tea color to it, and that's all the tannins, the tannic acids in the leaves and the plants in this area, and they stain the water that color. You can drink it. Just make sure you boil the filter first. Alright, so I got my camp set up. I know that there's a couple of fish in this creek, so I think I'm just going to go on a little wander around and just see what I can find. I've just seen a possum. See if I can get him with the bow. I just found this really cool open area which I can see for a fair distance, and saw a possum walking around, and got the camera set up, pulled an arrow out, went over, stalked up on him, and he disappeared. It is unreal. I have no idea where this guy went. I looked up the tree, I looked everywhere, could not find him. That would have been a good meal for tonight. I'm hungry. That is pig scat right there. That's wild boar. This is all pigs here rooting in the ground. It's not that fresh, but it's still sign. Ah, look at that. Looks like a tortoise shell. The big old hole in the side, how's that? That is interesting. Looks like something definitely made a meal out of this. But that's crazy how there's one hole in the side, like something bored in to get the meat out. It might not be. But, it's a pretty cool little find. Alright, back from my little exploration. And encouraging. I like the area a lot, but I'm going to get a fire going right now. We're sort of nearing the end of the day, and the trick is going to be finding dry wood. There's not a lot of it available here, but we need to try find something because I want to get a fire going. So I definitely want to be looking for stuff that's off the ground. You can see this piece right here is horizontal, and it's a fairly hard wood. See the snapping sound. It's wet on the outside, but it's dry on the inside. This could definitely work. So it's the best I'm finding. See how this touched this bark and it's wet, but as soon as you peel it off, it has this pretty hard cambium layer on the inside, which doesn't seem to allow the moisture to get to the wood. So then all of this right here is more or less dry. So that's going to work out pretty good. Okay, so I've got this dry piece of wood right here. This is a very, oh, I think this log is breaking. It's a very soft, punky piece of wood, and there are some dry pieces inside here. So what I'm going to do is use my knife and shave some very, very fine slivers off to create a bit of a tinder bundle so that I can throw a spark into it and hopefully start up a fire that way. Getting rid of all the wet outside and just trying to get to the drier inside.
The trick to making tinder this way is by carving very thin shavings from the wood. Thin fuel with large surface area will ignite quicker and easier.
Not quick enough. Got to be so delicate. Not easy in these conditions.
If the flame starts to die for your tinder bundle, get your head down to the ground level with the base of the fire and blow gently on it, providing it with oxygen. This should rejuvenate it.
You can hear all the moisture burning off. Well, it has started to rain again, but I've made a tripod where I'm boiling my water on so I can make some nice tea, and came up with an idea to shelter my fire from the rain. There we go. How do you like that little umbrella? Just a bunch of saw palmetto leaves that I've pushed into the top of the tripod, all opposing each other, and they're providing perfect shelter for the fire. The palmetto leaves are live, green, so they do resist a lot of the heat of the fire, so they'll probably be up there for, I don't know, at least probably a good few hours before they start to feel the heat and start to burn. So it's the best I can come up with right now, and it seems to be working a treat. Usually I'll just build that fire really big, and those hot embers will basically just vaporize the water when it hits it, but haven't got to that size fire yet. So this is my makeshift improvisation tactic until I get a better coal bed going. Seems to be working, so I'm happy. Let's go and check on my fishing line before I hunker down for the night. Go see what we got here. Catfish. It is a little guy, but I tell you what, bit of protein in the belly is better than nothing. I'll take it. There's my little catfish on a skewer. That'll be my dinner tonight. Yummy. I'm pretty stoked to have this catfish. It is my favorite out here. It's such an underrated fish, and I know I've said this before in previous videos, but it is just such a good fish. You gotta crisp up the skin though, that's the trick. And then crisped up skin, you eat it, eat the skin. Whereas the tilapia and stuff, you know, they've got scales, whereas the catfish don't. And even after you scale them, you can't crisp it up the same way as you can with a catfish. So smoked catfish is amazing. Barbecued like this, roasted is good too. Look at that yumminess. There we go. See, there's the skin right there. Yeah, I'm here. So good. Good morning. Oh, good night's sleep. Quiet last night, really quiet. Alright, so I'm gonna go check up on my line and see if I've got a catfish overnight, and get a fire going, boil up some water, chuck it in my water bottle so that I can travel with it today, because I'm going to pack up and I'm going to go and explore some different areas. I'd like to get a little bit closer to a larger river that's down here, and it's sort of deeper into the swamp. So I think I'm going to pack up and head in that direction. Nothing. No breakfast today. Bait's gone. Hence another reason why I'm going to leave this site. There's not enough fish in here, and the ones that are here are very small. I need to get to a larger body of water that has bigger fish. These little guys are not going to do much for me. Okay, got to get a fire going again. And once again I go through the challenge of dealing with a bunch of wet wood. But look what I found yesterday evening, which is going to make that a whole lot easier. See this stump? How it mostly looks dry, even though everything else is just wet and soggy. Well, that's because this is the stump of a pine tree. Oh yeah. Check this out. That right there is fatwood. The pine tree, which is dead right now, but it produces a lot of resin, and that resin is high in turpentine, which is flammable. Now what happens is when that turpentine really saturates pieces of wood, which are typically in the heart of the tree, which is somewhere near the bottom where this is, and then also in the armpits of the branches, it'll make that wood extremely flammable and waterproof, because the resin, when it saturates the wood like it does here, it does not allow the wood to rot. It actually kind of waterproofs it, and that smell gives it away. You can smell the turpentine very strong. So this right here in wet weather is going to be amazing for starting fire. I know I've probably mentioned this in several of my other videos, but it never stops giving me pleasure when I find it. Okay, see how I'm just shaving off very thin pieces, but they're all still attached. They're not coming off. I want to just create a little bit of a tinder bundle on this piece, because it makes it much easier. See, just like this. It's all still attached. So I've created a much more surface area, and then if I put this in my unstable ground, then I'm able to push my ferro rod at the base of this and keep that nice and stable. And this should be thin enough to catch a spark. Let's see. There we go. Nice black smoke coming off, and now I can just build up off of this, and all this stuff should light up no problem. You can actually hear it burning. It's all that turpentine is igniting.